Welcome to the 2-Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by 3% and Open Letter, in which we take one giant book, break it down bit by bit, section by section, talk about it, analyze it, have fun, make jokes. This season, this is the last episode of the 10th season, which has been covering Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman, the amazingly, incredibly dense, incredibly rich, incredibly rewarding book that is over 1,000 pages long that we've been reading for like 3+ months. I'm Chad Post from Open Letter, and I'm joined as always by Brian Wood of Joytime Killbox, author of Joytime Killbox.
Hi.
It'd be funnier if you were from Joytime Killbox.
Yeah. How are you?
Pretty good. How are your holidays?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I haven't seen you in a decade.
No way. Decade ends at the end of the 20.
No, let's just get the dad jokes out of the way.
Let's do it.
That's good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just back from a long vacation in Canada with the family. So,
oh, cool.
We rescheduled this for now because it was not conducive to.
So you only take vacations where they have legal weed, I think. Canada, Hawaii, Massachusetts,
Michigan,
Illinois just joined the list too. I just saw.
Illinois.
Illinois.
There's something going on now.
Have you noticed with reading this book, anytime I see read a news headline or see the news, I filter it through Ducks Newburyport and the voice of the narrator.
Oh yeah.
It keeps it's impregnated itself into my brain in that way.
Oh, I get it. I totally get it. Is there a news item you're thinking of?
Yeah. It just came around New Year's with President Trump and Melania, where she misspoke saying she wanted peace on earth, and people just tore her up on Twitter because she said it wrong, or all right, whatever. English is her 9th language, whatever. So she messed it up. But then Trump cuts her off and tells her to be quiet. And, you're not supposed to share your New Year's resolutions or you'll jinx them. And then a day later, they bomb and kill the general from. Everyone's like, shh, hey, I'm about to start a war, so let's not. Yeah, Can you just shut up with this peace talk, please? But I was filtering all of this. What would the fact that what would be the paragraph rant on that with?
Oh yeah.
With Melania and the look and being quieted by Trump again, and it was just oh man, this is Ducks Newburyport all over again. I keep filtering everything through this. I can't escape it. It's a book that's kind of taken over my life for a little bit here as we've carried it around with us.
That was the thing that I mentioned, when I finished reading this before I went on away to Canada. I had mentioned to you that I thought we should talk about solipsism at some point. And it was kind of related to that we had Elizabeth on last episode, and she was talking about the representation of Stacy and how she isn't a fold out character. I was thinking about how in a Nabokovian way, this book is only contained within the singular consciousness and is incapable of going into anyone else's consciousness. And because it's so sealed that way, I think as you're reading it, you become part of it. It's a much more of a book that makes you adjust to its consciousness rather than being separate from. You have to be inside of it, and sort of it inhabits your brain as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it that way. I mean, you can almost imagine this book, well, not this book, but you can almost imagine a series of books where, what if we did one where it was Stacy's point of view?
Yeah.
How the voice would be.
Newburyport universe.
Yeah, and then you could do one from Ronnie's. Let's do a MAGA one. With those are the facts that would just be bonkers, right? Can you imagine getting into that headspace for a little while? Or
so this is off topic, but yeah, because there's so I've been watching Watchmen now. I'm finally caught up, and I'm on episode 5, so I haven't seen all of them. But they have all this external additional matter online on HBO. That's part of
the Deweypedia or whatever.
Yeah, PDpedia. And
Dewey. I like Dewey better than Petey. Whatever. Yeah.
PDpedia is ridiculous.
Dewey, Petey, it's the same slight build person.
But they have as one of the exactly. They have one of the things that's in there is an article from the New Frontiersman, the right-wing crazy paper that's complaining about a Supreme Court justice. And then it's like, what we all need to do is we need to go to Mars. All the white people need to just go to Mars. Let's go colonize Mars and make that our planet. It already has Dr. Manhattan, who's blue, and the surface is red, and now all it needs is us whites. And I was like, that would be Ronnie's.
Yeah. That's great that's wonderful logic. That follows perfectly.
The news headline that came up that reminded me of this was the one I sent you last night of Dr. Phil, notorious mom hater, selling his
holy cow,
is loaded with guns on a wall display of weaponry. That guy is fucked up. I hate him.
His dining room, when I was looking through the pictures of Dr. Phil's house, his dining room looked like it was probably a rejected concept art from the Beetlejuice movie.
Supposedly Tim Burton was the big influence on the whole thing.
Okay, because it was like, I saw this table in Beetlejuice, you know, when the shrimp cocktail grabs him by the face, and like, except it's a little more wild than that.
Yeah.
Who wants to live there or eat there? Is what I like. Just
that guy's not okay. Not okay.
Yeah.
But I know.
So what was your feeling about? Well, why don't you do your spiel that you normally do, where you
recap,
summarize what happened? What was the recap?
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm going to do this, but spoilers, guys. Like, if you've not read,
screw spoilers. If you're this far, come on, it's the last episode. At this point, come on.
If you haven't read it though, and you're one of those people that just listen, and you are curious about reading it, like a lot of things are backloaded here. So when we left, I don't know what was happening when we left, but the main thing in here is that the mountain lion has been caught. We knew that. We find out that in this section that Jim was the dog that was accompanying the mountain lion and is now living with the deer tracker, which everyone knows and the whole family knows. But then the big thing is they're all making cookies. They're making mountain lion cookies, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Ronnie comes into the house. Like, he comes to the house first and she turns him away. They comes into the house and threatens them with a gun, says a lot of nasty things about the narrator and about her being a prick tease and leading him on and all sorts of things, and holds them all kind of hostage, shoots like the kitchen timer, shoots up the refrigerator.
That's the meanest part. How dare you shoot a refrigerator? You know what it costs to replace one of those?
That seems like I'm insane. Yeah, that should be.
What a jerk.
I think that,
and especially with how much she uses that, like when they talk about what's in the freezer, she has more stuff in her freezer than I have in my house. Like, this is an important item here. Kill one of the kids. Kill one of the kids before you hit the refrigerator. Good Lord. All right, so Ronnie comes in and he's shooting everything up. It's terrifying, but it's told in a really flat. It's the same. Like, the tone doesn't change at that scene, which was interesting.
Yeah, and it's told from the future, or for like looking back. So
yeah.
So you like, the tension of it is there, but like it's also you know that she's not going to get shot.
I didn't find much tension in that part.
Yeah, I mean,
because of the part of speech and just the style still being that kind of, it was strangely kind of humorous. I mean, like, they tie him up with shirts. They, like, I saw a self-defense book and I choked him out, or, like, there's kind of something just sort of like wacky and bizarre. It reminds me of like Lolita when he shoots when Humbert tracks out and shoots him, like how funny that scene is. I mean, it's not funny, but it's not tense and terrifying in the way that scene normally would be written.
Right. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I totally agree. And so Stacy clobbers him with a lamp and then jumps him. They kick the gun away. They tie him up. And like,
well, they beat him with flour and apples.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? How are we supposed to read this scene? He gets beat with a sack of flour and then pelted with apples.
The mom wins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
all right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
Oh no. I don't. And then they run away, and there is like a sense of trauma to it all. Like, there's more of a sense of trauma than there is a sense of like palpable like action movie fear. So there isn't like the action movie fear that you'd expect in like a different sort of book or in like a Jack Ryan movie or something. But like, there is a sense of like, I wasn't sure if maybe someone was going to get shot. Like, maybe Stacy was going to get shot at some point. Yeah. Like, something bad could happen to someone other than the narrator. But instead, like, there's like a moment of heroism. But it also, it's interesting because it does bring together a lot of the different threads about the guns, about men, about There's even the bit afterwards where they're like, the NRA came up with a statement against them saying if they had guns in their house, they would have been fine. And they're like, and they want to issue a statement back, a retaliatory statement. They're like, no, don't do that because you'll get death threats. And they're like, okay, cool. No more death threats. Thank you very much. And like, there's like, yeah, it's like Stacy's redemption in some sense, and her moment of like, of overall, you know, I don't know, being the heroine.
And it kind of oddly, in a way, serves as like a device to give her kind of the fame or the meaning that she desires in her life.
Yeah.
Like the way they watch morning routine videos, or, you know, you can't help but feel small or kind of like meaningless. And then it provides her fame in a way, like she becomes famous from it. And
yeah,
so it does neatly tie up a lot of the threads very, very, very quickly and succinctly with that scene.
Yeah, although it does end with the fact that I hope all her rebelliousness hasn't been completely quelled by trauma, or by a new role as our savior. Big responsibility. there's that sense of like, yeah, that the fame and the like having been that, like, she hopes that doesn't change her essential like rebellious spirit still.
Yeah. So then, as far as the way we read Ducks, is it fair to look at to draw parallel with the lioness finding her cubs with the narrative that takes place, like juxtaposed on either side of it?
Yeah. So here's my thought,
because I feel like towards the end, there's nothing wrong with linking those two things together, with being reunited with the mom being reunited with the cubs, for instance.
Yeah.
And it's almost like your longingness to be with your kids was kind of almost a hollow gesture, because it's like the cubs ended up not needing you. Right. But like, it brought so much, like, you feel for the lioness when she's finally reunited with them and just wants to like lick them and clean them and be with them. Like, it's a wonderful thing, but it's like, they would have been okay. And then when Ronnie shows up, it's Stacy that saves the day, and it's the mom that's frozen, and like, they would have been all right without you. Like that kind of that there's that parallel there, right?
We're both in confined spaces.
Yeah.
with the kids surrounding them. Like, it is, there's a lot of like, that parallel is the same thing I was thinking too. And that they're both still like, they're both like bound by certain strictures, either social or like actually a cage. But the kids, that they can like love their kids, but loving your kids is also letting them be different, be separate.
Do you think that's a common theme for parenting throughout like different generations? Like, you're always like, I find myself as I'm getting older, I'm looking down at the younger generation, like, oh boy, they're screwed. Like the world is going to hell. Like, you guys have no chance. And it's like, well, I'm sure my parents said the same thing about me, and their parents said the same thing about, you know,
that Elvis
them
was the start of it all.
Yeah, with their reefer dope and their marijuana cigarettes. Like, they're all gonna, you know, the country's gonna be awful. And then now,
I mean, the thing that's not wrong about it is that like every generation seems to have it a little bit worse than the last one.
Sure.
Like, maybe it's not that they're totally screwed, but like, well, we made a lot of mistakes, and good luck.
Yeah, I just remember growing up like, there's some, I don't know. Apparently, my parents ruined something called the ozone layer. I don't know if we need it or not, but I don't know. That and the rainforests are going to be gone.
Yeah, the rainforest, the ozone layer because of hairspray.
Yeah, and now it's just the whole world's on fire.
The whole world literally on fire right now. And
yeah, all over the place. California, Australia, and everything in between. So maybe it is fair to be super concerned.
But do
you find yourself having, hey Alex, your future's gone. Sorry about it. Hey little buddy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't drink from styrofoam anymore though.
Save the turtle, man. That. Don't use those straws. Yeah, there's that sense of worry, in that, like, I do think that that's been passed down through all the generations, like what you're saying, that people have to be concerned about like the future for their kids, and like then the kids are somehow they figure things out. And there's like that bit of hopefulness with like the environment stuff that like the next generation might have some grand thing that we don't know, that we can't know, that we can't do, scientific or otherwise, that they're capable of doing, that will rectify things enough.
Mm-hmm.
They can be believing them. To add to this, my daughter is about to turn 16.
Wait, oh dear.
Yeah. 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 That's like,
yeah.
Which is like that now writ large. Like she's a couple years away from like voting and moving out on her own.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's like the vehicular manslaughter concerns. There's the, oh, you can just like, you have a private hotel room you can drive around in pretty soon. Great. Like, just like beyond like everything you could ever be terrified about. Like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm going to be facing that head on here in about a month. Great.
In about 2 days. 2 days.
2 days. Awesome. Oh, dear.
Very awesome.
Wait, yeah, that is terrifying.
Good Lord. That's the one that like it hits it. We had the 16th birthday party with my family, and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't think that was really happening. And now I'm like, 16 is a lot of years. It's a lot of years.
And 18's gonna be super fast, right?
Yeah.
But I guess by 21 you can just let them go, right?
Yeah, don't embarrass, man. They're like they're on their own at that point. Like,
so it's only a couple years to be.
Yeah,
to be worried.
18 and fuck it. Like they're off at college, they'll be okay. Yeah, so I don't know. There was a really funny joke online, by the way, about this, where I said that announced that we were doing this this podcast today, the final one, and this one guy, Declan O'Driscoll, tweeted something to the effect of like, "I'll bet you guys are really shocked when the narrator went and bought a gun and went and assassinated the lioness."
I have to save my dog and my family. Family first.
Slaughters the lioness. Yeah, this is, I mean, it's interesting because this is the first time that like there's a section that like really this is like a plotted thing at this point. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know that focusing on the plot even makes a lot of sense. It is much more about like her consciousness and representation of the world and of the way of thinking, like we were talking about at the beginning. That's really the main thrust of the book. And like the actual like kind of events are there to illustrate that, but they're not. I don't know that they're like the main thrust of the book, even though it does all kind of coalesce in that way. It seems more like a structure to make the narrative fall into place rather than it's the point of the book.
Yeah. Were you satisfied with it going that more? I don't know what the right term would be, but just kind of, more, I don't know, like Hollywood's not the right word, but it kind of like it gives you like this, like, oh, here's a climax, like the conventional.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that there's like, I think that if I were to reread this, like, I think there's a pacing thing going on with it that like some of what we were talking about of like how it does sort of speed up or like the stories become longer. I think there's something really intricate with that that's impossible to see even as we were reading it here. And I think that last little spot, like the last singular in the kitchen, this scene, they're all trapped in there. Mm-hmm. That is a culmination of a lot of like things that are happening with the storytelling and not just the things that she's talking about. So like all the themes of Ronnie and the guns and Stacy and like all that. Yeah, sure. That all weaves together here. But I think that there's something with like the pacing of it to get it to this one singular spot moment that made it work for me. The part that I was more confused by was the appendix. Like I wasn't sure what to make of the appendix exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be there or not. It just says a roundup of abbreviations sanitized for your comfort.
Yeah, that part is kind of fun. And reading through that is pretty fun because they're like a lot of
it gives like a postmodern feel, right? It feels like something that'd be in like a 80s, 90s postmodern, like American literature sort of thing, where they want to footnote things or have like jokes in the back or the playfulness.
Yeah, but there's like a so this part, yeah. So there's like whatever POTUS, purveyor of totally unprecedented sleaze, and like there's like jokes that are within it that are fun and that like sort of it's a convention of her of the consciousness of the narrator in terms of like all those things that she's saying. She's not using them the way that we use them always. Sometimes she is and sometimes not. And like they're sanitized because she doesn't swear and she doesn't say that stuff like that. But also it's like it makes it a little bit joyful. But right after that, the appendix part is the part that I'm not certain, let's just quote from other people. It's the first time there's like a separate voices in this book, and they're like,
oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
and I'm not certain what to make of this part. Like I guess it just like sort of hits upon like all the different themes that are in the book, almost like a series of epigraphs as an appendix instead. The one that I marked was the Silas Soul one, that's about the slaughter of the Indians.
Yes,
it seemed like the most like horrific. I tell you, Ned, it was hard to see little children on their knees have their brains beat out by men professing to be civilized. One squaw was wounded, and a fellow took a hatchet to finish her. She held her arms up to defend her, and he cut one arm off and held the other with one hand and dashed the hatchet through her brain. Like I wonder, and some of these like they're like get ready, the world is coming to an end from James Thurber. Like they all sort of relate to the book that we just read, almost like giving it like a grounding, like a real world grounding, I guess. But like it is so real. Like I don't know. I wasn't sure what to make of those quotes at the end exactly, like how to incorporate them.
Yeah.
All feeling of the book, but I didn't dislike them. They were just like they're there. They're fine.
Yeah. It reminds me too, because there's the talk, and I was wondering if it was ever gonna have any sort of payoff. But there's this idea of like within the setting of the mounds, like the snake, the serpent mounds, the alligator mound, which I think are like burials, like Indian burials. So like,
I looked this up before, and I can't remember his burials, but they were definitely set up for astronomical things as well.
Oh, the equinox and for the So there's something there with that, and obviously there's the tracker could be anything. He was half Cherokee,
right.
So yeah, another thing you could, and even at the very last page, right? The fact that we're going to let Jillian do the Indian mud run too,
right?
So there's something with Native Americans.
Oh yeah,
like in their displacement by European patriarchy coming through, and it's blood, death, and torture that everything is built upon, and that's what everything is built upon. And then what it does to her, what it does to her family, Would you say that it's optimistic at the end?
I think it's perfectly balanced where it is and it isn't. So there's an optimistic sense of like that Stacy will be all right, and that if that's one of the things, all right, and that
she's brave, she's strong, she can handle adversity. Like would the future be better in her hands?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And that maybe that's like there's like a symbolic nature to her beating up Ronnie to give like, oh, well, the optimism for the future is that maybe people like Stacy they won't be trapped in this kitchen or under these like patriarchal strictures, that they will be forceful. Like she can't, the narrator doesn't react, doesn't know what to do. And Stacy does know how to act and like can save them there. There is like, the way that things have been constructed in society for so long, for seemingly ever, are shifting, and that there's also a sense of optimism. Okay, I'm going to say it, but I'm not sure I'm right. I'm saying this out loud as I'm thinking it. So there's a sense of optimism to me in the sense that if you read this, it's impossible. It feels impossible to agree with the other side, and that's sort of a mind-changing, like if there's an aspect to literature that can help adjust people's consciousness or way of thinking about things. If that's true, this book makes a very strong case against like everyone having weapons, against patriarchal norms, against all this stuff, where I can't imagine if you read this all then being like pro MAGA in like a hyper fucked up way that a lot of people are. And so in a way, I think that's optimistic that this is tying it into too many things maybe, but it's optimistic that this book got the attention it got because that's helping spread this particular viewpoint, unless that viewpoint is only being read by people who already embody.
It's preaching. I think it's preaching to the choir.
It probably is, but because
Can you imagine any like hardcore Fox, any kind of like hardcore Fox News, like super right-wing person picking up this book and reading it?
Not those people, but like the people.
They're gonna read Gods, Guns, Grits, Gravy, whatever whatever the G book is. Oh, that one's got cooking in it too, grits and gravy, right?
But like not the people, so not the extremists, but like people in the middle.
Yeah.
People in Ohio or Illinois or Michigan that are like conflicted.
Is there anybody in the middle anymore?
I don't know. I think I hope
like you either want to put kids in cages or you want a Green New Deal. Like it's one or the other. Like you can't do. There's nothing in between.
Would it not be better if we were two separate countries?
Sure. Yeah. But who's going to build the wall between us?
Yeah,
because I don't want my country to pay for it.
They would. Yeah, they want to. We'll give them Ohio. Yeah. We'll give them Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. One of my favorite lines in this little bit was that there's no Michelin star restaurant in the flyover states. So I was trying to find if there's a Michelin star restaurant in Rochester, and there's not.
Oh, there's nothing close to a Michelin star restaurant here. Nope.
How many Michelin star? I don't know what the
but we have garbage plates.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
The highest they do is 3.
But like, what? Yeah, where's a close one?
New York City has a few.
Yeah. How many are there?
Obviously. I don't know. Chicago has a few. New York City has a few. Napa has a couple. Los Gatos, California. San Francisco might have one. But like, I don't know. Like, it's like silly to get them. You have to have like, there's a certain number of things you have to like check off of a list. You have to have a really good wine list. The service has to be impeccable. The food has to be impeccable. And it has to be sustained and whatever.
The closest I could find was that the guy that opened up where Two Vine used to be, the restaurant in town that's opened up as Reds, or has opened up as Reds, that he worked a Michelin star restaurant before moving here. So like theoretically.
Yeah, I went there for brunch. It's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I've not been there.
But yeah, it's this weird like pursuit of madness. It doesn't. I don't know. I guess it means something if you're into that, but whatever.
But otherwise, yeah, no, doesn't matter at all.
You can have really good food without any Michelin stars. So
yeah, I agree.
Like I think you can't have 3 Michelin stars if you have paper towels in your bathroom, for instance. Like it has to be cloth. No, like for real. Like there's like certain standards that. It's the same thing with like a hotel. They get a 5-diamond hotel. It has to have like a 24-hour room service with a menu. Like if you don't do that, you're 4-diamond. Like there's certain little things you have to pay for and provide to be top notch. And why would you provide that in Kansas?
Yeah.
Just go to Applebee's. Just go to Applebee's and be happy. Get out of here.
The line around that is the fact that lots of restaurants don't even want a Michelin star because it attracts the wrong kind of customers. Customers who want pre-desserts, whatever they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you like the line where she totally shit on Ohio?
Which one?
Oh, good Lord. Where was it? It talks about like the people that are from Ohio and Winesburg, Ohio. And she just takes a total giant dump on Ohio. And I was like, oh man, Chad's going to
love it.
As a
Michigander,
which is a word I don't like, but as a Michigander, I thought you'd like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't remember where it was. I don't remember. I'll find it in a moment.
Yeah. There's one of the lines that I did like too is
here it goes. 922.
Oh, okay.
The fact that I'd better get dressed. The fact that Ohioans are such pushovers for any mention of Ohio or anyone who comes from Ohio, Winesburg, Ohio, Wiseacre, Widows, Little Pucker, which she goes on about Ohio's being pushovers. And I wish I wasn't from Ohio, and I'm from Illinois or Connecticut, but I'm definitely not from Ohio.
Yeah. Ohio really is awful. So I'm with you.
You're making friends.
No. But who's really listening to us from Ohio, do you think? What are our
I don't know.
listenership records for a while? Probably low. You know, this is also that sort of book where everything pops up over and over again. So
Yeah.
and like then enters into your real life in a better Meinhof sort of way. But we were at a restaurant and they had a brewery in Sarnia, Ontario, which is where I was, which is essentially Ohio. And there was a Trivia Pursuit game from like, years ago. And I was flipping through and asking questions while we were waiting for our food. And one of them was, who would sign Steak Knives Love Hurts when they did a comeback tour in whatever year it was? I can't remember.
Love Hurts.
Nope, it's Bobbitt because he.
Oh,
and Bobbitt
okay.
showed up immediately on page 937.
Yeah, and isn't there a movie that's out right now, like on Netflix or something, or
probably? So everything in this book just comes up over and over again in real life too.
Well, if you have however many 400,000 words or whatever this is, like something better pop up. Come on.
Yeah, good odds. Yeah, good odds. Nevertheless, it's just one of those things that like it doesn't. The timing works out too closely sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it feels like I'd read it and then the next, 2 minutes later, that thing would pop up. It wasn't like, oh yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, like with it being so prescient too, with the comment she makes about how like miserable Melania is being married to Trump and the being thrown into the spotlight with politics, and then just recently it just happened again just 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just a moment.
It's really wild. It's really wild. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if there's anything more about this specific section. Oh yeah, I circled and started sciatica because I read that part when I pulled my back and couldn't move my left leg because of my sciatic nerve for a day. So I was like, yep, there's sciatica right there. Thanks. Perfect.
Daddy,
I have one other question. Did we ever figure out what the recurring phrase "Are you evil" is referring to or from?
Oh, no, I didn't even think about it.
I remember it was a lot in the beginning, and then it comes up one time here on 790 or 979 that just is in quotes, "Are you evil?" And that was one that like always stood out to me at the beginning, and I forgot about it, and then it popped up here, and I wasn't sure if you knew what if that was a reference to like a song or a saying or a book or a play or a movie, but one of those.
I don't know. It's probably a Witness. I'll have to watch Witness again with Harrison Ford.
Totally gonna watch that.
Daddy, don't ever say that's sad.
Okay. But like
she told me don't ever say that.
Not anything else to really say, but like what's your overall, do you think it's optimistic or pessimistic, and what's your overall takeaway of the book as a whole now that we've completely finished and seen at least the trajectory as it is?
Don't ever say the words that you're saying that's sad.
It feels bittersweet, but maybe a little bit sweeter than bitter.
Yeah.
Don't ever.
I don't know if optimism would be the right word, but I don't feel.
Yeah.
Don't ever say that word again.
The kids are going to be all right.
Don't ever say that word again.
Whether our narrator is going to be all right or not, I don't know. But I don't think that's what matters. I think it's more about Stacy and. Because like she makes that mention of like had Stacy not saved the day, or had she just been, if it had just been her and she got murdered there, like she would have gone back to Frank. And then what would have happened if that happened? And what would Stacy's life be like if she grew up the rest of her, teen years in that environment?
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be okay. Like there's going to be a fight, there's going to be a struggle, but they're fierce. They're strong and they can survive. It's kind of like with the Cubs.
Is that maybe like, yeah, so it is interesting that the protagonist,
Daddy, don't ever say
not
that word.
certain about their status for the future at the end of the book. Like I feel like usually like a book will gear itself to like making sure that the protagonist's future, at least like a sense of it. And in a case we kind of don't here, like, but that maybe the whole point is that her letting go, that she can't protect them all the time, is really the key for her future, and that she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, again, it might not be fair, but to draw the parallel with the lioness in captivity now, right?
Yeah.
I ate a cookie.
Caged, surrounded, sanitized, like these strange men coming in and imposing things on her life, but she has her kids.
Yeah.
She's reunited with her family, and maybe it's not the situation you want to be in, but there's that love in her life.
Right. Yeah. It does kind of almost become one of those like you can't change all the evils in the world, but at least you can like enjoy your time at home and with your family sort of situations where there's a lot to be concerned about. There's a lot in the world to be concerned about, but that you can't control all of it, but at least like you can be with your kids and enjoy them as you can.
Yeah. So like to say, is that optimistic? Good Lord, I don't know, but I mean, it's not hopeless.
No, it's not. It's not nihilistic at all either. Like, like the sense of like, because it would be very easy to fall into that. I think of like, well, everything's just fucked. Like the gun people, the environment, the like. There is so related to this.
Radiant Terminus. Let's go Radiant Terminus. I think. Let's go Radiant Terminus.
Full on Radiant Terminus time. When I was in Sarnia, there's one of my great grandfather would have been one of the people that moved there from England, and they had all these huge amounts of farmland, right? But now this place, Sarnia, is like pretty messy, and in part because like places like Dow Chemical went there and like fucked up their river and just destroyed through chemicals and pouring them out and like radiate and like ruining the ground, ruining the soil, ruining everything, and then abandoning so they wouldn't have to clean it up. So they just left like all their shit and took off. And there's another company that was there that came in afterwards that did essentially the same thing. And like the prime piece of real estate for Sarnia, theoretically, right off the highway, right by the bridge to the US and all that, is just vacant because it would cost billions of dollars to clean up the soil, and they wouldn't know what to do with it, and like to take care of all the asbestos problems, all this stuff. And it was like, it felt like this book where like this is a very good representation. The city is a representation of how commerce comes in and murders people and then just like runs away.
Wait, and that's where you went on vacation?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Intense, dude.
Were you there for a funeral?
It was
like, why would you go there?
Well, this is the one story from like because I met one of my dad's cousin for lunch, and he was telling like the family history, and he had like the whole family book, and like it was sort of, not only is Sarnia kind of a very bleak place, but our family history is like real messy. So like there was the main guy came to Sarnia, had 9 children, and then the one child that leads to like my family line had 11 children. So there's like 1 million people that are like,
oh, good Lord. Yeah.
It's like one of those family trees that's like an explosion of nonsense. Like, and it's incomplete. It stopped in 1983. So there's like nothing for it. But then all the stories that are in this book of like our family are like all stories of like, of failure. Like it was really like, it was very intense. It would be like this one guy, what I think it was from my family, part of the tree, went off to like Utah to start a farm, and then everything caught on fire, and so he had to move back with no money. And then,
well, that was like your Mormon uncle, whatever. He had it coming. But should have wore your magic underwear, Uncle Josiah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Josiah Post and his 11
John
wives.
And William. Yeah. Every one of them is John and William, like all the way down. It's
yeah.
And they don't even name them like 2 or 3. They're just like John, William.
Those are like pasty white names. Those are really good. Good family names.
Cambridgeshire. Birmingham, England. This is all bleak.
Yeah.
I don't know. Reading this book and then having that conversation was really impactful to me, because I just felt like it was a little bit like, oh shit, like at least I can go back and take care of my kids and like hang out with them.
Yeah.
Like, this is really bad. Like, there's no way that this city should really even exist anymore. There's no young people here. It's like it was tough. It was tough. Good times, good old Canada. Right. Anyways, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about this thing? Do you have a favorite line from the section?
Yeah, mine was in page 926, right towards the beginning. Was that part of the section? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. Just towards the end there, there's kind of like this beautiful breakdown where everything that she's been ranting about for, 900 pages is just all of a sudden stupid. It's all stupid, right? All these, you're right. I'm sorry. My daughter doesn't like me saying that word.
You good?
Sorry, I'm going to say stupid a couple times, Isaac, but I'm reading the book. My stupid attempts at accounting, stupid self-absorption, stupid mucus, stupid itch, stupid rush, mush, stupid guy, my stupid dreams, my stupid smile, the fact that I dreamt Chuck was still beautiful and his deep red hair had only mildly faded and his body was still on offer to me. But that's stupid too, because he won't be dreaming of me, because that would be stupid. The fact that there is no place for me in this world, no place. The fact that I am broken. The fact that there's no room in the whole of Ohio for my needs, my desires, my dilemmas, my tragedies, my flat tires, my mommy. The fact that I want my mommy.
Yeah, that's really intense. I like that quite a bit too. Man, I'm trying to find like one that. Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot of lines in here, but the one that stood out to me is like being the most intense. It's not like a funny one or like necessarily my favorite one, but one that like really ran out or stood out at me was when after the event, when they're like, for a while, the fact that at first Ben claimed he didn't need a therapist, but then out of the blue one day he said he didn't want to live and added, "I'm dead inside."
Oh dear.
Seemed very intense, and like that brought home to me like the situation that, as you were saying it earlier, it was like described in a way that's sort of flat and like almost humorous or like not like dramatic, but then you have the trauma, and the trauma like is very real, and it seems to be almost, it's not really a commentary on, but it could be almost read as a commentary on the violence that is glorified in like, or even like news stories are like, they don't really talk about the post impact trauma. It's much more of like the event itself and how did that play out, and like, but like these people will be messed up for years, because that would be, can you even imagine how crazy that would be to have someone with like a semi-automatic in your kitchen like shooting parts of your house? Like that would be mess you up forever. So like I think that they're part of this, like her whole thing of being broken that runs throughout it, and like all the different ways that like the world attacks you and like leaves you with like these various scars or these various problems, or she doesn't remember certain things and like is always frazzled. Like that sense of like a weird sort of like overall trauma really stands out to me now, looking back at it in retrospect.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. So how do you, I think a fun wrap up, like how would you, because I've like hand sold this book to a few people, just like when hey, what are you reading? What's the next book I should get? And I mentioned reading this one. How would you sell this book to somebody?
That is tough. I think I would.
I mean, I assume you'd recommend it to somebody. You should read Lucy Allman, read Ducks Newburyport. What would you say?
Yeah, I've recommended it as being like a book that's very easy to like, with the best voice of like someone who's just telling you something for a long time and telling you about life and about their life, and doing it in a way that's like entertaining and informative and like dramatic, but that listening to that voice is perfect. It's like sitting not like at a bar with someone, but kind of like at a bar with someone who's just like, here's everything that's on my mind. And like being able to get that sense of a closeness to like a character and to be immersed in a world that's like this, that is very much our world today. Like there's nothing unrecognizable about this. It's not like reading Ulysses where you're like, I don't get this. Like, I don't know what this reference could possibly be. Like the references in here, or you could Google them if you really don't.
Why so many bodily fluids? I don't understand this.
Yeah, exactly. But like that, being able to be immersed in a world that you recognize with a voice that is so confident and so like compelling and telling you things that is like that you relate to and that you find funny and that you can sort of hone in on it, I think is like kind of one of the best experiences of reading a book. Like it's almost, in a way, this is not how I would sell it in the end, because I'd have to be, much quicker about it. But thinking about it now too, like if a normal book is telling you a lot of things, and a normal book sounds dumb. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like I'm reading another book for class right now, and it's a book that's a normal, conventionally structured narrative in which there is a character who's sort of telling you about their world and explaining things, but not in this way. This book draws you so close to the consciousness of this woman that is the most impressive thing and that I've seen in a long time, to be this close to like understanding how this mind's working rather than feeling like it's overly crafted. Like this book is clearly crafted and very well put together. But as you read it, the sense isn't like you're being manipulated. And I always like very allergic to books that make me feel like I'm being manipulated. Like the author's trying to put things in a place that they can pay off later, or like they're trying to make you feel sad for someone when it's just like, it feels like they're trying. And this book doesn't feel like it tries. There's a sense of ease to it that like is really like a compelling, amazing thing. And I think if I told anyone, if I were selling this, hand selling this, I'd be like, why don't you just sit down in the store, read 15 pages, and then let me know if you want to buy the book or not.
Yeah, there you go.
15 pages, you're going to like the whole thing. That it does not.
Yeah.
It is that propulsive and like and engaging throughout. So if you like any part of this, get the book, because you will be rewarded. Read it over a year if you need to. Read it over a week if you get sucked in. It doesn't matter. Like you're gonna always go back and just read bits of this, and like you keep seeing some of the same things, and you'll be able to fall into this voice and this narrative like viewpoint on the world is really important and illuminating and really strong. I think that's what I like about it, and that's why I would try and emphasize in a shorter way to like a simple reader.
Mm-hmm.
How did you
I agree.
and sell it?
I've been telling people just about how amazing the voice is. I mean, you could talk about like obviously the form that the book takes and how well it works with that. But
yeah,
I think after reading all of it, I would just sell it as it's this wonderful, empathetic case of why it's time for the patriarchy to end.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Check it out. See what you think. I think it's a wonderful case that's laid out in this extremely empathetic, amazing way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's long and exhaustive, but if you want to talk about why the power structures we have in place aren't working, it needs to be long and exhaustive. And I think this is a wonderful, kind of like a wonderful, almost like a thesis as to why it needs to take place. Read it and see what you think at the end. And
also that like the opposite form of this being like a short pamphlet that's like more of a diatribe or like a specific, the fact that works so well in contrast to this. Like if you imagine this pamphlet that's like the fact that men have ruined everything, the fact that Dow Chemical fucked up Sarnia, the fact that like there's all these things that are killing us, the fact that all these guns are out there, like you can make this a very short summarized pamphlet about why the systems don't work, and it would be not good. It would probably be
you'd crumple it up and throw it away. Like don't preach to me about this. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, reading this, you like again, you carry it with you. You don't like I said earlier, like I'm like filtering everything I'm seeing and through this narrator's like, oh, what would our narrator think about this or say about this? And you become very empathetic to what she's going through and how she sees the future.
Yeah. If you're a parent,
that's a very powerful thing, and that's what good literature should do, and this one does wonderfully. So
absolutely. So buy it, read it if you haven't already. If you've been reading and listening to this podcast, I hope you enjoyed it. Our 10th season. We will be back. We're going to take a little bit of a break here to get a lot of stuff done this month. But next month, we'll announce it soon. But next month, the next book that we're going to do for season 11 is The Dreamed Part, which is the second part of Rodrigo Faison's part trilogy. I don't know what we want to call it. There's a term that they've been using, but I forget what it is right now. But that will be fun because we've done the invented part. If you go back and listen to the invented part or read it, or I'll refresh everyone's memory about it before we start. But the dream part is picking up some of the storylines from there, telling everything in a very different way. The structure is different. There's still 3 parts. There's still like certain aspects to it that are the same, and there's certain recognizable characters, obviously. But there is a different approach that's going on, and a different sort of way of thinking about literature. And it does have the kind of, I know that when the book came out in France, they compared him to like David Lynch's Inland Empire as being like this was Faison's like statement about art and his whole art and his whole life and his whole ideas about it. And you do get that sense reading The Dream Part that it is a different take on how the invented part was very structured and very concrete. The dream part's going to be a little bit more dreamier. to find but it will be fun, and I think that we'll have a lot of good times talking about that in the next season. So, and it's
great job shoehorning David Lynch into a talk that has nothing to do with David Lynch. Wonderful job, Chad. I'm surprised you didn't put baseball analytics crap in there as well.
Baseball, yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah. Well, yep.
You ruined our last episode. You ruined our last episode by being you. You're just like your family.
So
You're just like your ancestors.
Go out into the world and then shit back to Sarnia.
I'm going to school today.
And my daughter's saying she's going to school today. Here.
Okay, I shut it off.